To welcome everybody. My name is Morton Barlaz, head of the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering, and you'll hear a little bit more from me in a few minutes. I just want to welcome everybody and express how wonderful it is to have so many people together. It's been a long time, and miss being able to do gatherings like this. But to begin, I'd like to introduce Gray Talley. Gray has been serving as the president of our advisory board, and ask him to welcome you on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Mort. Good morning again, and thank you all for taking the time to be here with us today. As Mort said, my name is Gray Talley. For the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to serve on the Civil Construction Environmental Engineering Industry Advisory Board, and then, as Mort mentioned, this past year as its chair. Prior to the opportunity to serve on this board, my relationship with the university has been as a student, where they prepared me to go out and be a professional, and then as an employer who looked to the university to provide talented employees. But the experience to serve on this board really opened my eyes to the impact the civil engineering department has on the community, and the research being done right here at NC State is really impacting the state and really impact the world. So I want to take a moment to share with you a few examples of work being done here in our department, impacting the community around us. At our last board meeting, Dr. Brina Montoya gave us a presentation on her research on soil stabilization utilizing biocementation. And I was thinking, where else does that happen, where biology and geotechnical engineers can get together and collaborate and come up with a solution? And my suspicion is not many places, but it is happening right here at NC State. And on a more global scale, Andy Grishop's got research going on improving indoor air quality for underdeveloped countries utilizing cooktops or stove design. And Dr. Francis De La Reyes is researching reducing disease in underdeveloped nations with simple sanitation systems. That was really hard for me to get out. His TED Talk's been downloaded over 820,000 times and translated into 24 different languages. So that's a little bit about what we've got going on in the research behind the scenes here. I've also really gained a great appreciation of how valuable the alumni are to this program. Not only for the financial support, internships, volunteering of time, which are so important to develop our students in the department, but also as ambassadors for NC State and our engineering profession. Our engineering department and university are evaluated on the achievements of our fellow engineers and Wolfpack alumni. So I'm so pleased today that when our engineering profession and NC State are thought of, we're represented by the individuals that we'll honor here today. I hope you enjoyed today's induction ceremony and hearing from the inductees and their families, and they inspire you just as they've inspired me and so many others that they've come in contact with over their careers. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Pam Townsend to make a few comments on behalf of the inaugural committee. Pam? Thank you, ma'am.
Guess I'm going to take my mask off. Well, good morning. And on behalf of the past Hall of Fame recipients, greetings to the 2020 and 2021 inductees and families to this inspiring ceremony. And I am so glad so many of us could actually be here today. What a concept. My name is Pam Townsend, and for me, there is no greater recognition or honor than having been inducted into this alma mater's Hall of Fame. And what is so special and truly an honor for me in welcoming you today is that my career has been touched by so many of the Hall of Fame inductees today in some way. And this group includes former professors, clients, industry colleagues who I have worked with in so many different ways, and trailblazers who, through the tremendous contributions to our profession and society, have paved the way for others to follow. Each of you has gone on to have an amazing career after your formative years in Mann Hall, and each of you should be very, very proud of your accomplishments. I know that your industry colleagues are. Congratulations. And I know that each of us is very proud to be a part of the legacy of the CCEE department. The contributions of this department to our world have been invaluable. The role the department grads has had on the transformation of this state over the years to one of the top economies in the world cannot be understated. In addition to turning out top graduates, the research from our department, as Gray highlighted, continues to play a key role in solving our world's grand challenges. Having faculty appointed to key national leadership positions and a recent visit from the U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary underscores the high-level thought leadership and high regard of this department. And the support and the connection of the alumni is a foundational element in assuring the successful implementation of the department's growth and its vision. It is an exciting time for CCEE department. Thank you so much to each of you for your contributions, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you, Gray and Pam. A little bit of introduction. I've been on the faculty here since 1989 and have been honored to serve as department head since 2010. And on behalf of the students and faculty in the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering, I extend my welcome to everybody for our annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony, although annual is in quotes as we're doing 2020 and 2021 together this year. And again, I'm just thrilled so many of you are here. I stand here with a great sense of humility to be among so many giants and leaders in our field. And I'm so proud to claim so many of you as alumni of our department. Your accomplishments and contributions to society are inspiring. As I begin, I'd like to recognize a few people who are here today. Our student ambassadors. These are special undergraduate students who have volunteered to serve as ambassadors for our department. They routinely meet with groups of middle school and high school students, undecided freshmen who are trying to learn about civil construction or environmental engineering, helping with open house, representing the department at numerous functions throughout the year. They're a special group of our top students, and I want to thank them for going above and beyond the call of duty to help. Our two ambassadors, if you would stand and come on in the door here a little bit. Cecilia Sanchez is a senior majoring in construction engineering from Wilson and a participant in the Goodnight Scholars Program. And Brian Esquivel, a senior also majoring in construction engineering from Asheboro, North Carolina, and vice president of the Lambda Theta Phi Latin fraternity. Thank you. I'd like to recognize a few of our faculty who are here today, both active and retired faculty. Jim Now, Mo Gabber, Harvey Walls, Downey Brill, Sami Ruskala, and Ali Hajbabe. And I hope I'm not missing anyone. No, okay. I am. And Joel DeCoste, last but not least. Thank you for being here. You're so critical to our department. And some of our Hall of Fame members who are able to attend today. Glenn Futrell, Mike Creed, Pam Townsend, who you heard from, John Brantley, Smedes York. And I think I'm not missing anyone, am I? Good. And finally, members of our advisory board, Gray Talley, Sandra Stepney, Lisa Patterson, Tanya Mills, Mark McIntyre, Street Lee, and Joe Hines. And thank you so much for your service and your service as a sounding board in helping me kind of connect to the world of practitioners. We're here to celebrate accomplishments, and I'd like to at least try to capture the spirit of the accomplishments of our Hall of Fame inductee. So before introducing each of our nominees and inviting them to speak, I'd like to just read the selection criteria. We have two broad criteria: professional accomplishments and service for the betterment of society. With respect to professional accomplishments, alumni who have made significant advances to technology or fundamental principles in their chosen career, or who have established themselves among their peers as a leading scholar or faculty member. Alumni who as leaders have had significant and positive impacts on engineering institutions. Alumni who have established and led a successful business or served at the senior management level at a large and successful company. With respect to service, alumni who have exhibited leadership and significant sustained contributions to local, national, or international organizations, including the military. This could include alumni who have been recognized for their service at the state or national level, as well as alumni who have assumed leadership roles in providing support and guidance to NC State. We now have over 15,000 alums dating back to our first in 1896. And with this year's class, we have 40 Hall of Fame members. This is a very elite and distinct group. What I'd like to do now is call each inductee to the front. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, which will be a little different than what you see on the screen. So we'll mix our 2019, 20, and 21 inductees together. And I will summarize highlights of their career and present them with their plaque. One logistical matter, we do have a photographer, Taylor Wanba, and she will make pictures available. So of course, feel free to take pictures, but we'll make sure to get pictures from our photographer as well. Our first inductee is Dr. Rafat Abdel Malek. Dr. Abdel Malek received an MS in civil engineering in 1969 and a PhD in 1972. He is Vice Chairman Emeritus of MWH Global. He was the CEO of Harza Engineering prior to its merger with Montgomery Watson and the formation of MWH, one of the leading firms worldwide in water, energy, and infrastructure. He is an expert on hydropower and its sustainable development. He was responsible for the design and construction management of some of the world's most complex hydropower projects, including the 10,000 megawatt Guri hydroelectric project, as well as other projects in Venezuela. He served as a senior consultant for the Three Gorges Dam in China. In 2014, he was awarded the ASCE Rickey Medal for outstanding contributions to hydroelectric engineering, leadership in the delivery of the world's largest and most complex projects. He's also served as president of the International Hydropower Association for 6 years, an organization with the mission to advance sustainable hydropower by building and sharing knowledge on its role in renewable energy systems, freshwater management, and climate solutions. And I could go on for hours about each inductee, so I'm trying to balance time, but let me present this. And invite you to say a few words. And we do have boxes for these, which we'll provide at the end.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Barlatz, for this wonderful introduction. Allow me to recognize somebody that of the retired professors that were at my time. I'd like to ask Dr. Harvey Walls to show me where he is. I know he is in the crowd here. Harvey, thank you so much. Although I have never had a course with you, but you remind me of the good old days. Thank you so much for this. It's great honor for my wife, my children who are here, and I to return to this marvelous and blessed city, and particularly to this campus, which holds a lot of memories and very dear to our hearts. Over 54 years ago, we came to this campus from our homeland in Egypt to continue my graduate education. Now I am back to be honored, but which instead it should have been that I honor you, who were instrumental in launching me on a career that back then I never dreamed to achieve such success. This is why I'm forever thankful, first to the Lord that guided our way to come here, and very grateful to this university, particularly the Civil Engineering Department, for such a diverse education that has been the key to start me on a successful career. Allow me to take a few minutes to share with you the highlights of my career achievements. You will be surprised that the one unique achievement that I am very proud of is not an engineering innovation, although I had many. Rather, it is a humanitarian in nature. I'm referring to the efforts of the UNDP Commission to reform the developments of dams and hydropower around the world. The year 2000 saw a disastrous decision of the international financial institution led by the World Bank under extreme pressure from the world NGOs to stop all hydropower and dam development around the world. In an effort to unlock this damaging decision that affected the livelihood of many poor and developing countries around the world, UNDP launched a multidisciplinary commission which included engineers and developers led by the International Hydropower Association, of which I was the CEO, as well as several NGOs and the World Bank representing the International Financial Institution. This was a very courageous step by us engineers because, as you know, we shy away as engineers of involved in community and humanitarian affairs. We always hide behind our technologies. The commission was convened, and after 8 years of tough and contentious deliberations, however, carried out under spirit of mutual respect and an atmosphere of cordial Christian behavior. The Commission introduced a widely adopted framework for sustainable development of dams and hydropower called Hydropower Sustainability Protocol. I'm very grateful that I led the engineering and developer team in this effort. The one important contribution, however, of this protocol is the dignified and humanitarian treatment of project-affected communities. In addition to financial reparation, it included more sustainable benefit sharing, education, and health care reform. Again, I'm very grateful to the university, the Civil Engineering Department, and the nominating committee that selected me to receive this precious award. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Our next inductee is Suzanne Beckstoffer, and before we bring her in remotely, let me say a little bit about her. Suzanne received her BS in civil engineering in 1982, and she spent her entire professional career at Newport News Shipbuilding, working her way up to Director of Engineering, University and Manufacturing Initiatives. She led the installation of a robotic steel fabrication equipment and directed a research and development program with a staff of close to 50. She was responsible for the migration of the design of an aircraft carrier to new software, a responsibility that required perfection, given its size, hundreds of millions of dollars, and importance. In 2015, she was elected Engineer of the Year by the Peninsula Engineers Council. She's very active in her community and professional service. She serves on the ABET Industry Council Advisory Board and the Marine Board. She's president of the Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers, an international organization, professional organization with over 6,000 members in 95 countries. She serves as chair of the board of Bayport Credit Union, a $1.7 billion financial institution with 140,000 members and 23 branches. In her role, she has worked hard to bring financial literacy training to high school students in the communities in which the credit union is represented. Her service to NC State includes approximately 10 years on our advisory board, and as she rotated off our board, she agreed to serve on the College of Engineering Foundation Board. She established the McGee Harrelson Beckstoffer Scholarship, supports the Zeal Lecture, and is a frequent contributor to the CCEE Enhancement Fund. And with that, we will bring Suzanne in. Thank you. Just going back 1 minute, I forgot to recognize one of our faculty who is here, Dr. Mike Lemming. I apologize, Mike. Our next inductee is Miss Emily Brown Blount. Emily Blount received her BS in civil engineering in 1953 and a professional degree in civil engineering with a concentration in transportation in 1955. Following graduation, she began a career at the North Carolina Department of Transportation, starting out as the Associate Traffic Engineer in the State Highway Department. 5 years after graduating, she became the first North Carolina woman registered as a professional engineer and as a professional land surveyor. She went on to have a 40-year career at DOT. She's been recognized for her outstanding achievements with numerous awards, including the Raleigh Engineers Club Outstanding Engineering Award, the R.V. Moss Lifetime Service Award from the North Carolina section of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and induction into the North Carolina Transportation Hall of Fame. Ms. Blount remains connected to our department through our alumni engagement activities and is a consistent contributor to the department's enhancement fund. And would you please join me and say a few words?
Well, I'm just delighted to be here, and I'm glad I'm glad I'm here, and it's good to be here. I'm pleased and thrilled. I want to reminisce just a little bit on some of the fun things that my life has brought to me through the civil engineering department and the things that I've done. When I came here, there were 3 women that were studying science and engineering, and one was going into physics, and one was in the School of Architecture, and I was in the civil engineering department, and I had as you have been told, I've had my 2 degrees and graduated. Was fortunate to be here when Professor Babcock came down to start the transportation section in civil engineering, which was what I wanted to do. I like the aspect of the safety and the improvement. The president, of course, at that time was developing the road systems in North Carolina, and I love that. And I was able to go with the ITE's study group to Europe right after the war was over. We went to many different countries, ended up in Russia, which was at that time a very interesting place to do. I spoke a few words. I had several phrases that I could use in Russian, and it worked real well, and I could read enough of it to read the road signs, which was a lot of fun, before they ran over you with the funny cars. But it was a delightful experience, and through my whole career, I have met some of the most interesting people in the world. I just kind of bumped into them. It wasn't intentional. I was coming back from the Orient on the airplane through California, and there was 1 seat left on the airplane, and who would sit beside my empty seat but the chief mechanical engineer of the Hubble telescope. We chatted all the way back down here. So if anybody wants to know anything about the Hubble telescope, it's out there somewhere. But, which was a delightful meeting, I'll have to say. And of course, I spent my 40 years with the Highway Department. And when I got through getting real money job and retired, I decided I'd go see what else was open in the world. So on my own, I went to 30 or 40 countries all over the world to see all the bridges, all the roads, what they were doing for transportation, and they're still doing some very interesting things in other parts of the world. And I want to say that I have always been proud to be from North Carolina State. All the people that wanted to talk about engineering at State, I always enjoyed talking to them. And I want to thank this organization for this wonderful award. I appreciate it. And I have enjoyed every minute of my career and life. Everything's good so far.
Our next inductee is Mr. Otis Crowder, and he'll be joining us virtually in just a moment. Otis Crowder received a BS in Civil Engineering Construction Option in 1970. He then joined his family business, Crowder Construction, and went on to serve as president, chairman, and board member of the company and its subsidiaries. He prides himself on the company's mission statement. We are dedicated to superior performance and committed to making a positive difference for our clients, our communities, and in the lives of our employees. Crowder Construction and its subsidiaries have received numerous industry awards for project excellence and safety, from Carolina's AGC, AGC of America, the American Council of Engineering Companies, the Design Build Institute of America, the US EPA, the Department of Labor, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In addition to the company's community service, they partner with diverse groups of local subcontractors and suppliers, actively seeking small, local, minority, and female-owned businesses with which to work. Otis Crowder has been very active in a long list of community organizations, and I'll just mention two: the American Heart Association, Greater Charlotte Walk Executive Leadership Team, and Habitat for Humanity. He served on the NC State Engineering Foundation. He's been a frequent and generous contributor to the department and college, including the Crowder Enhancement Endowment in the department, the Fitzward Hall Project, and the College of Engineering Leadership Fund. And at this time, we'd like to welcome Mr. Crowder virtually.
Inducted with this group of people. Just hearing the first couple of speakers makes me understand how special this is. When I applied to go to college, there was only one school I applied to, and that was NC State. I'm not quite sure what would have happened if I hadn't got into NC State. It was the only school I ever considered going to because I wanted to learn engineering and learn how to be a better builder. For the first year, however, I was questioning my decision after a bunch of calculus courses, chemistry, and a few of those, and wondered what life was really going to be like at State. But fortunately, later I got into my engineering courses, and loved it. I learned not just engineering, but how to build. But during that time, I came to realize that being an engineer is not just a list, taking a bunch of technical courses and getting a license. It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching problems. And so what I learned is you need to identify an issue or a problem, you need to organize the information, and then you need to solve the problem. And although I've used this in my career as a builder, I've also been able to use this in my business career. And I think that the lessons I learned and the processes of thinking as an engineer were vital to the success of our company. So this has been very special to me. And I do want to thank a couple of people that helped me in my career, not necessarily in the academic part, but other parts of my life at State. One was Dr. Mullen, who was not my advisor, but I actually dropped out of State for a semester. I was going to drop out for a year and work because I was married and I needed to earn some money. Dr. Mullen called me and told me he would ask to be my advisor and that he wanted me to get back into school. And I explained, well, I would be off on all my prerequisites. And he said, I'll waive any prerequisite if you'll get back in school. I'm not sure what would have happened if I had not gone back into school then, whether I would have gotten used to earning money. But as a matter of fact, I set up a scholarship in his name at State because he was instrumental in me finishing at State and made it easier for me to finish. And the other one is Dr. Mirza, who was teaching. I was taking a structural course from him, and he came up to me and said, I understand you are married and you need to earn some money. And I said, yeah, that's true. I'm trying to figure out how to get a job and go to school. He said, I've got a great job for you working for a doctorate student in the basement of Mann Hall. You get to work 20 hours a week and you made the phenomenal amount of $2 an hour, which was huge. And you can do the work whenever you want to, mostly, except when an experiment's going on. So I got that job, and that allowed me to concentrate on studies and learn a lot about engineering. And as a side to that, one of our other inductees, David Johnson, Dr. David Johnson, was working on his PhD. And I didn't work for him, but I got to go over when he needed an extra pair of hands and help him. So that was a great experience. What I learned at State has been vital to our business and me in my personal life. So I want to thank State for that. And I'm very impressed by all the inductees. It's a great honor. And I only have one more thing to say. And let's see if I can get this up here. Go State. Enjoy the groundbreakings and dedications.
Thank you. Our next inductee is Mr. Michael Gwynn. Mike received his BS in civil engineering in 1980 and a master's in 1984. He had nearly a 40-year career in the construction industry, starting in 1981 at Paul N. Howard, and served in numerous leadership roles at construction companies such as J. Jones Construction, Fluor, Leidos, the Benham Company, literally overseeing billions of dollars in projects worldwide. Mike retired in 2020 as group president of Haskell's Federal Healthcare and Energy Group. Mike, come on up while I'm speaking. Sorry, I should have invited speakers to come. Mr. Gwynn has been involved in many engineering organizations, including as an ASCE Fellow, the ASCE Construction Institute's Construction Engineering Education Committee, the Board of Advisors for the Construction Industry Institute, and the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying Civil Professional Engineers Exam. And I'd like to add that these are thankless but critical jobs to our education program. And I know they include any number of Saturdays at Clemson. Mr. Gwynn also was on the Industry Advisory Board for ABET for many years and acted as chair for that group. And it's so important for people like Mike who understand our discipline and what universities do well to be representing us to our ABET accreditation board. Mr. Gwynn's been a longtime supporter of the department, serving on and chairing the Industrial Advisory Board. And on a personal note, I'd been chair for about 2 weeks in August 2010 when Mike called and said, we should just talk, I'll come down. And he drove from Charlotte so we could have dinner and he could see how he could help as I got started. He established the Mike Banks Gwynn Scholarship Endowment in 2016 for need-based undergraduates interested in construction engineering and management. And on a personal note, Mike took my class in environmental chemistry as a distance education student in 1992. At the time, he was on assignment in a small island in the Western Pacific. He would receive lectures by videotape once a week, and he would typically turn in his homework assignments before my on-campus students.
That's true.
Thanks, Morton, and also thanks for that B you gave me in that class. I really appreciate that. On a more serious note, thanks for being my advisor when I pursued my master's degree. You were a big help to me, and thanks for your leadership of the department for the last 10-plus years. I know we all appreciate what you've done for the department, what you've done for the university in general. So this is an amazing honor for me. It's certainly an honor that means the world to me. I can't imagine anything that would be better. When I look at the people that are part of this group, it's actually quite humbling. Mort mentioned a couple of construction companies that I worked for. Paul Howard's a member of this group, and Johnny Jones was the great-grandson or the grandson of James Addison Jones that started J.A. Jones Construction Company, and he's a member of this group. Mort mentioned some of my outside activities. David Johnston drafted me into most of those, if not all. I always appreciated David's leadership and his drive in pushing construction engineering education for our industry. So all those experiences were very rewarding, David. Thank you for that. I noticed that Dr. Malcolm is an inductee this time. He gave me my first hard lesson, as a lot of you may remember, in learning how to think like an engineer, which I won't go into details, but it cost me 15 points on an exam. So, you know, and then so many members that I served on the industry advisory board here with the department that are members of this group. Just a great group of people, outstanding professionals, and many that have done a tremendous amount for this university. So it's an honor to be part of that group of people. I need to thank a few people. First and foremost, I need to thank my parents, who I think may be watching at this time. They gave me the encouragement and the support to pursue an engineering degree at NC State. Like Otis, this was the only school I applied to. I didn't have a backup plan, but it all worked out. You know, getting an engineering degree from NC State is a very special thing. It sets you up for success in the long run if you're willing to use it and take the risk out there and push the envelope. It's been provided a great platform for me in my career, and it's one of the reasons why I love this place so much. I also want to thank all the people I worked with throughout my career, because it was always about the team success and team engagement and team involvement. And we pursued or delivered projects in over 60 countries throughout my career. So I couldn't have done anything without all of them, of course. And finally, I want to thank my wife, Claire, who's here with me today, and my daughters, Madeline and Mayron, who are watching. I certainly couldn't have done anything without them. So in my mind, this honor is also belongs to them as well. So thank you again, and congratulations to all the inductees.
Our next inductee is Mr. Jim Hips. Mr. Hips attended NC State on an athletic scholarship, very typical for engineers. Received a BS in biological and agricultural engineering in 1973 and a professional degree in civil engineering in 1974. He started his engineering career at Moore Gardner after graduation, and Moore Gardner was then acquired by Black & Veatch in 1982. Jim climbed the ranks at the company, serving in leadership roles far too numerous to mention. In 1995, Black & Veatch Environmental Division acquired the $200 million revenue UK-based engineering partnership, Binney & Partners. And Jim was given the assignment to integrate the B&V partnership with offices in England, Asia, and South Africa. During this multi-year assignment, he relocated to England to ensure the successful integration of 1,500 engineers in over 40 international offices. He retired from Black & Veatch in 2009 as executive partner in charge of strategic planning, mergers and acquisitions, and new business ventures. Quoting from Len Rodman, the former CEO of Black & Veatch, "While I always saw Jim as quiet, when he spoke about business matters, people listened. Jim has a subtle sense of humor, often used to make a business point." He's been very active and played a leadership role in the Junior Diabetes Research Foundation and served on the board of directors of the Kansas City, Missouri chapter. In this role, he has raised millions of dollars for diabetes research annually. In addition to our department, where he has supported the Charles Smallwood Graduate Student Award, his family is a generous supporter of NC State academics and athletics, contributing to a number of undergraduate, graduate, athletic, and athletic trainer endowed scholarships. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Hips.
First of all, I'd like to talk about things I'm thankful about. Growing up in a small community in the mountains of western North Carolina on a farm, I had no way of envisioning what the future held for me. So I have a lot of things to be thankful for. I'd like to thank the current Civil Engineering Department administration and staff, and Dr. Bartlett in particular, for this award. I'm truly honored and humbled to be added to your Hall of Fame. Second, I'd like to thank the athletic department and Wolfpack Club at NC State, which made it possible for me to attend this university. Then I'd like to thank some of the faculty members at the time that I attended. In the bio and agricultural engineering department, there was Dr. Frank Humanick, Dr. Michael Overcash, Dr. Henry Ditmas-Boying, and in the civil sanitary program, graduate program here in the civil department, there was Dr. Charles Smallwood and Dr. Newton B. Colston. Dr. Colston and Dr. Malcolm, who I note is on the list of inductees today, were colleagues, and they were pioneers in the emerging field of stormwater management in the early 70s and 80s. And Dr. Colston, and in particular, had a major impact on my career and my life. He helped me get into the consulting engineering profession. He went to work at Moore Gardner and Associates and encouraged them to hire me when I graduated, and they did so. He also introduced me to my wife, Kathleen. So you say I have a lot to be thankful for from Newt. There are literally at least 100 or more other faculty members that should be mentioned, but I can't recall all their names at this point. And but let it be known that every one of them made some contribution to my progress as an engineer. Next, I'd like to be thankful for my employers. You know, Moore Gardner and Associates, which is a regional North Carolina firm, hired me, gave me my initial engineering training. It was a small enough firm that you could advance rapidly within the firm as you learned, and it was also had excellent leadership. Richard H. Moore was one of the last engineering graduates of the school over here on the other side of Research Triangle Park. He was a University of North Carolina civil engineer. So, but he was a fine man and a fine engineer and a fine leader and a great mentor to learn from. Then in early 1980s, we were acquired by Black & Veatch Engineers and Architects out of Kansas City, Missouri, which was a much larger firm. They had thousands of employees where we had several hundred at Moore Gardner. I was also fortunate to come into there because usually acquired firms are not treated kind of like redheaded stepchildren. But Black & Veatch was different in that regard and brought the firm in, and it continued to grow and prosper. And certainly I was given every opportunity to advance within the organization and did so. Of all the things about my employers I'm most proud of, though, was our motto or our tagline at Black & Veatch, building a world of difference. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. I was in the environmental sector of Black & Veatch's business. We had a number of different sectors. The thing I'm most proud of, you know, I worked on projects literally all across the world, ranging from billions of dollars in scope to hundreds of dollars in scope. The thing I was most proud of was the fact that literally 25% of the Earth's population is touched by Black & Veatch projects every day in water or wastewater treatment. Those of you who are familiar with the situation overseas recognize that infant mortality, the primary driver of that is waterborne disease. So the fact I'm most proud of is the water and waste treatment services we brought to rural, poor communities all across the globe through our engineering services. And we developed tools, techniques, construction methods using local indigenous labor instead of big mechanical construction equipment like we all see here every day and are very familiar with. So next, I'm thankful for my family, my parents, Robert and Eileen Hips. They nurtured me, set my moral compass. My mother induced in me a lifelong love of reading and learning. And they both taught me the value of hard work and how to overcome obstacles in life. I'd like to thank my wife, Kathleen Tobin Hips, who has been a faithful companion to me in this journey, a wonderful wife, and a wonderful mother to our two children, Robert, who's with us today, and Emily, who is not, but is with us in our hearts. Next, I'd like to place all my colleagues and employees. Those of you who've worked in engineering know there's very, very seldom that a single engineer can carry through any project of any complexity. There are just multiple fields, multiple disciplines required to create projects, and to be able to be an effective team member is extremely important. And I thank my athletic background for teaching me that lesson. But, you know, at times you assume a leadership role, and at times you assume the followership role. And it's important that you're effective in either of those roles if you're going to have successful projects. Next, I'm thankful for my clients. You know, they were patient. In fact, I've probably learned as much from some of our clients as they learned from me and the team I was with on engineering projects. But if you're going to have good projects, you have to have good clients. And somebody says timing is everything, and it does bring me many blessings. And the final group of things I'm thanking for is the Clean Water Act of 1972, which initiated a golden half a century, basically, of environmental improvement in this country, and prodded other countries around the world to spend money as well on improving the general state of our environment. That was a landmark piece of legislation that was passed. It was passed just as I was beginning my career, and it transitioned to be from a sanitary engineer to an environmental engineer. So I think most of all, I think Lou Holtz, who was one of my coaches here at NC State, said, "We have success when preparation meets opportunity." And NC State provided the preparation, and the general environment in which I work provided the opportunity. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Bartlett. Thank you, colleagues. I'm honored to be a member.
Dr. Johnston, would you please join me? Dr. David Johnston received a BS in Civil Engineering Construction option in 1966, went on to receive an MS and then a PhD in our department in 1972. He started on the faculty in 1977 and retired as Edgar Wissaker Distinguished Professor. During his time in the department, he helped to establish and solidify our construction specialty area, which has grown to include typically 35 to 40 students and 4 graduate faculty. He's provided tremendous leadership to our construction program, helping us through our ABET accreditation for nearly 40 years. In the 90s, when we opened our construction facilities lab, David was asked to coordinate the move and recognized that the building was good, we needed equipment. He then led a $2.9 million NSF academic research infrastructure proposal that was successful and the largest grant in the department's history at the time. He served as our associate head for graduate programs for a decade and took tremendous responsibility in a very challenging position. He received the ASCE Roebling Award in 2013 in recognition of outstanding contributions to the advancement of construction engineering. In 2019, he received the Distinguished Examination Service Award from the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying. And as indicated earlier, David and Mike kept good company in Clemson on Saturdays, working on our accreditation programs. He's held many leadership roles in professional organizations. The David Johnston Construction Engineering and Management Graduate Endowment was established in his honor, and he's a frequent contributor to several department efforts, including the Bless Us Endowment, our Enhancement Fund, and our Engineering Leadership Fund. On a personal note, I just want to add and thank him for the tireless work he did on every aspect of the building behind me, Fitzwillard Hall. He managed hundreds, if not thousands, of logistical items, solved problems, was attentive and thoughtful, and served as a calming influence. I can say with confidence that Fitzwillard Hall is a better building because of his dedication to its design. Thank you.
Thank you, Mort. This is indeed an honor. I was really blown away when Mort called me about becoming an inductee. I came to NC State in 1962, not entirely sure that I knew what I wanted to do. I did decide pretty quickly not to follow a lot of the advice I was getting, that I should major in nuclear engineering because that was the field of the future. But I found a home in civil engineering, became very interested in construction and structures, and so I opted for the civil engineering construction option degree program and used free electives to pick up any structures courses that I might have missed, trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. I continued on to graduate school. There was not a graduate construction program at that time, so it was in structures, but opted to also take all the geotechnical courses I could get my hands on. We had some wonderful faculty, people like Paul Zia, Harvey Walls, Charlie Bramer, Nick Uanick, and others that I viewed as role models for what my future engineering career might hold. I met a number of folks who are here today during that time period as well as fellow students, or in the case of Otis Crowder, helping me in the lab. As an undergraduate student. However, I had never intended to be in academia. I always envisioned that I would be in industry somewhere. And after I finished doing the testing for my PhD and coursework, I went ahead and took a job and was writing my thesis in the year that followed while I was working on nights and weekends. I sought out a firm that would give me experience in that mixture of construction engineering and structural engineering to help me again figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. It was a firm outside New York. They had clients that included contractors, large engineering design firms in New York City, utilities, a couple of DOTs. After 3 years, interestingly enough, it was a graduate course in differential equations that I had taken that led to me being elevated as one of the 4 partners in the firm. You never know from your education exactly what you'll need out of all that array of things that you learn. Of course, the most important thing that you learn is how to solve problems. identify what the problem is, what you don't know, what you need to find out, who you need to turn to solve the problem. That's what engineering education is so good at. After I became a partner in the firm, life was good. And then one day, Paul Zia gave me a call, my former advisor, and said, hey, we've got a new position. It's to help start the graduate program in construction engineering. And implicit in his call, although he did not say it, was, don't you want to slash your income and become a faculty member? It was a hard decision, but it was an opportunity to get back to North Carolina, and there were family reasons that we wanted to do that. So we decided to make the leap, knowing from talking with my other partners that I could return at any time if it didn't work out. Well, it worked out. The research fell into place. It was much like business that I had learned. You figure out what the agency's problems are, you figure out what they want to have solved. When they ask you, can you solve the problem, you say yes. When you've got the funding, then you go find a talented graduate student and tell them that you are absolutely confident that they can solve the problem. The teaching was a little slower to fall into place as a good job. The content was always there, but I know with the 8 o'clock classes I love to teach that I put a lot of students to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I apologize for that. But eventually that improved also. Along the way, I encountered problems, accreditation issues, the lack of a good path for our construction engineering students in the PE exam, and I wanted to change those. When you face these problems, it's best to work as a team with industry. And so I looked for people for industry who could help sell the issue. And Mike Gwynn kept stepping forward. He was a wonderful partner, eloquent in selling the issue to the folks on the industry side of the panels we had to work with. And so we're able to accomplish some things that had a national impact. I was pleased at some of my research in infrastructure management for bridges and buildings, and research in concrete construction, particularly for formwork, also had national impacts on how we do things in the industry. Most of all, I appreciate the wonderful education I got at NC State. When I was working in industry and I interacted with a lot of other PhDs from many schools who were working in industry, I never felt that my education let me down. I always felt prepared. I knew how to find out what the problem was, find out what I knew, find out what I didn't know, and find a solution. And that's what education is about. Occasionally, we got questions from folks in industry about why did we require so much calculus and so much physics and chemistry and what have you? And why did courses have to be as difficult as they were? But the issue is that those are courses that stretch the mind. And a mind once stretched never returns to its former size. So I think what the department does is in educating our students is really wonderful. I enjoyed contributing to it, and I've enjoyed the opportunities Mort has given me to help along the way since I've retired as well. So thank you for this honor.
Our next inductee is Dr. Rooney Malcolm, who will be represented by his daughter, Julie Trotter. Dr. Malcolm is no longer with us. Rooney received his BS in civil engineering in 1963, a master's in 1970, and a PhD from our department in 1973. He was among the first to teach urban hydrology and incorporated into the university curricula, along with bringing the field of study into civil engineering rather than an agricultural program. The recognition among many that meant the most to Rooney Malcolm was the Outstanding Faculty Award from the Civil Engineering Senior Class in 1981. Teaching was his gift, calling, and passion. He was a dedicated undergraduate faculty advisor and deeply interested in helping students find their path. He's a part of the NC State Academy of Outstanding Teachers and was recognized as an outstanding civil engineer from the North Carolina section of ASCE. A longtime member of the Technical Advisory Committee to the North Carolina Sediment Control Commission and a number of other statewide organizations. Again, on a personal note, I run into his former students many, many times, and they all just have tremendous things to say about how he influenced their careers through his teaching and outside of class training. Thank you.
Good morning. We are so honored to represent my father here. For you, he was Dr. Rooney Malcolm, maybe Rooney. For me, he was Daddy. And I had always expected to follow him into a civil engineer career. I started at NC State in 1982. And that didn't turn out to be the place that I followed my father. I'm now a member of the Air Force Institute of Technology faculty teaching. I had no idea, and I would have told you there was no way that would have been the thing I did to follow my father. He inspired in all of us a love for learning, a need to solve a problem, to figure out, to think it through. As Mike Gwynn suggested, he wanted you to think as an engineer. He wanted his students to have practical, applicable education. He wanted to build great engineers for the state of North Carolina and everywhere else. He was proud of his students. He was proud to be a part of the faculty here at NC State. Thank you so much for this honor. And I want to be sure and thank Everett Knight, who could not be here this morning, who reached out to my sister and I when he wanted to help put together the package for Daddy. And we are very grateful. We are very grateful to the committee for this honor. Daddy would be very honored and humbled to be part of this group. I also want to recognize Nona Malcolm Mason, his wife, and now Woody Mason's wife. You may not know Woody, but Daddy did well. Woody started Daddy's adventure at NC State in 1954 with him. They have been friends always, and Daddy would say that he couldn't have done the work with the students without Mom's support. So thank you to her for all of the students she welcomed, all of the support she gave. Daddy was very proud of his students, and he wanted them to know he cared. He cared about every student he taught. He loved teaching. He loved his family. He was very proud of his granddaughters. He brought them to NC State every time they came to visit, developing a love for NC State in them and encouraging them to go on to solve things and learn and his young middle granddaughter graduated from NC State in 2009. So thank you for honoring his legacy, carry on the desire to learn and to teach others. That was his joy and passion in life.
You've heard a number of people speak to the need to identify and solve problems quickly, and I'm going to do that. We're running a little bit behind, which is fine, take your time, but we do have two of our inductees who are supposed to be at another event shortly after 11 a.m. So I'm going to modify the alphabetical order and skip ahead to two inductees in order to get them freed up if they need to step out before we're finished. First is Rear Admiral Douglas Morton. Mr. Morton received a BS in Civil Engineering in 1983, an MS in Civil Engineering from Georgia Tech, and then a master's degree in the National Resource Strategy from Industrial College of the Armed Forces. He had a 33-year career with the Navy Civil Engineer Corps. He led the Seabees deploying overseas in both peacekeeping and wartime missions. He also led components of the Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command. He attained several military awards, including the Navy Distinguished Service Medal, the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, and the Bronze Star Medal. He also received the Patriot Award from NC State in 2017. As I mentioned, he retired as a Rear Admiral, and NC State is most fortunate to have him as our Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities, responsible for every facility on campus. He's been a loyal supporter of the department and university, contributing to our Enhancement Fund, the College of Engineering Leadership Fund, the Alumni Association, Fitzward Hall, and the university's greatest needs. Speaking personally, Rear Admiral Morton has been a tireless advocate for NC State facilities, and I've seen him solve problems that have lingered for a decade or longer before he joined NC State. Specifically, Mann Hall experienced many sewage backups in the basement during the 2017-18 year. And I won't forget the day when my cell phone went off at 6 p.m. Mr. Morton was in the basement, in a suit, in his shoes, standing in water, and it wasn't treated water. And he said this was going to be fixed. And a few months later, it was. He's a person of action, and he gets things done for the betterment of NC State. And for that, we offer our congratulations and thank him.
Thank you, Dr. Barlaz. I am humbled to be in the company of so many remarkable engineers and public servants. I'm also very thankful that the lights are on and that you're fairly comfortable in this room. If not, I would hear about it on my cell phone. So, first I want to thank my parents, Jim and Shirley Morton. My dad is a 1956 grad in the civil department, and he and my mom set me on the path that led me here. And like some of you, my option was NC State or anywhere else I wanted to pay or I could figure out to go. And that was great motivation. And like those of you in the room, NC State accepted my application, and I found my way through here. It was really not about my academic prowess that got me here, but it was those professors like Dr. Johnston, George Blesses, Dr. Mullen, Roy Borden, Howard Petrie. Some of you might remember him in the math department. Thank God he was there because I wasn't very good at math, but he brought me through it. But it was what NC State gave me as a foundation. I cannot forget my study partner here, my wife Margaret, who knew I wasn't that good of a student and that our dates mainly consisted of time in D.H. Hill Library, where we made our way through. But when I joined the Navy, and again, my father also had an influence there. He swore me into the Navy as I graduated from NC State as a naval officer himself. And we thought we might do a couple of 3 years there and then find our way back to either Margaret's hometown or mine to do something else. And again, 33 years later, we found ourselves retiring from that same institution. The people were really the motivation to do what I did in the Navy and for service to our country. And I gotta tell you that today, you know, there are 300,000 plus sailors, many of them serving on Suzanne's ships. And I learned to call them ships. I would probably call them boats otherwise. I served one day on a naval vessel in 33 years. If you want to know how to do that, you've got to go through the civil engineering department first. Because I didn't have to serve on a ship, but I did deploy with the Navy Seabees, as Mort said, the construction battalions. Remarkable people. Those young people serving on those ships, those young people serving all over the country today in places none of you want to visit, that you might read about, they keep our country as it is, free and safe. And so I'm really thankful to them for lifting me up as a leader in the military through all that time. I got to see places I never imagined seeing, some of which I might want to go back to, but most not, and working on things that were impactful in ways that I could not have imagined as a student. So I'm deeply grateful for the faculty in this department, for what they gave to me. Again, Dr. Johnson, I did not sleep through your class, I promise. He and George Blesses were a godsend to me as I was trying to navigate my way through civil engineering and found, again, a passion in the construction curriculum. I want to thank both the Dean and Dr. Barlaz for really bringing me here. Dr. Barlaz knows his influence on getting me back to NC State as I retired from the Navy. And I tell my staff every day, to love what you do in a place that you love is just a remarkable thing. And so I'm that. I really wish this blind was up so I could have a picture taken where my building is behind me, or our building, excuse me, is behind me, but it too works, yeah. So again, I'm deeply humbled to be with this group, and I thank you for this honor, and I look forward to continued service with the department at NC State. Go Pack.
Thank you for reminding me. The reason the blind's not open is I'm told if it was, I would look like I was in the witness protection program, which I'm not. I'm going to go out of order one more time and ask Ms. Debbie Young to join me. Debbie Young was one of the first Black women to receive a BS in civil engineering from NC State in 1977, and the first to earn an MS in civil engineering from the University of Pittsburgh in 1980. While working, she went on to earn an MBA from another school up the road with a darker blue coat. She started her career in consulting and moved to Honeywell, formerly Allied Signal, in 1980, where she spent a 35-year career and rose through the ranks into a number of leadership roles. Her roles combined engineering with strategic planning, regulatory oversight, and assessment of capital projects. She led teams that oversaw manufacturing around the globe, representing billions of dollars and thousands of employees. She retired as the Global Health, Safety, and Environmental Capital Director for Honeywell in 2015. She was a charter member and president of NC State Society of Women Engineers and a charter member of the NC State Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She too has been very active in community service. including the Richmond Minorities in Engineering Partnership that hosts middle and high school students from underrepresented groups for 6 weeks during the summer. The Links, an international not-for-profit corporate volunteer service organization. Mammography for Life, which provides testing for uninsured women. And Steps to Independence, a program in partnership with Riverside Regional Jail to assist former prison inmates with their reentry to society. She's also been a strong supporter with both time and finances to NC State. She's on the NC State Engineering Board, and my understanding is yesterday she was elected as chair of the NC State Foundation. She's a loyal contributor to the department and endowed the Deborah Bell and Gary Young Scholarship in honor of her parents. And she's also been a strong contributor to our enhancement fund and to the Fitzward Hall building. Please join me in congratulating Debbie.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Barles, my fellow Hall of Fame inductees, College of Engineering, and guests, I stand before you today honored and humbled to be an alumni inductee. With pride and gratitude, I accept this Hall of Fame award from the Civil, Construction, Environmental Engineering Department of North Carolina State University. I share this award with two of God's exceptional people, my parents, the late William Oscar Bell Jr. and Maddie Perm Bell. My parents believed in God, sacrificed, and had the wisdom to allow me to follow my dreams, never accept mediocrity, and reach for the stars. As a teenager, I desired to be an engineer. There were challenges and roadblocks in front of my parents and me. The high school system discouraged the pursuit of engineering, and some colleges and universities encouraged me to pursue a different degree with very lucrative scholarships. I was determined to be a civil engineer. I visited a few universities that I was accepted into the university engineering program. I chose NC State. My sophomore year, I was awarded the Power Scholarship for outstanding out-of-state student. I received that scholarship for the remainder of my years. My parents are the reason I am being inducted into the CCEE Alumni Hall of Fame. Thanks to my daddy and my mama. NC State was a foundation for 2 advanced degrees from University of Pittsburgh and Duke. At Honeywell Allied Signal, I was afforded many diverse opportunities, and I excelled in my leadership abilities as both a team member and a team leader. My college years and career were achieved through my family, thanks to my family, my parents, my sister Dina, my son Altman, and my husband Gary, sacrifices and encouragement. As I look back over my college and career years, the good outweighed the challenges and obstacles. It was a joy to be here at NC State University. I received a degree from a world-leading engineering college, learned to analyze and solve problems, especially if they're difficult, not simple according to my family. learn to work, live with all people, develop many lifelong friendships. Thank you to the College of Engineering. Thank you to Dr. Bartlett. Thank you to the selection committee for this great honor and recognition. I will always cherish this day. This day is really special to me, as Dr. Bartlett has just said. As of yesterday, I am the president, starting January the 1st, 2022, of the NC State Engineering Foundation. So this week has been very special, and I want to thank all my foundation members who are here, not only as inductees, but members of the foundation board, and supported me and mentorship me during those terms. Thank you. Thanks again to my family. They don't want to do this, but will you all please stand? My mother, Maddie Bell, my son and his wife, Joy, my sister, her husband, Mark, and her daughter, Autumn, my cousin, Carrie Brown, and my one and only Gary Young, my husband. I want to also thank some friends, my true friends from NC State, those lifelong friendships that I developed, Randy and Loft Jenkins. And I want to recognize one special person here, Brian Campbell. Brian Campbell used to be the executive director of the NC State Foundation. And the reason that we're here today in the Hall of Fame is because of Brian Campbell. Brian, please stand. This was one of Brian's brainchilds, to have a Hall of Fame in our engineering. And we started, I don't know if you remember, we started having the Hall of Fames and we had picnics on the lawn before we had the great building behind us. So Brian, thank you. I'm here because you came up with the idea, because of my parents, and because of all the people at NC State that supported me over the years. Thank you and have a great day. And I apologize, I must leave.
Thank you. Let's go back in alphabetical order now. Our next inductee is Mr. Carroll Lamb, Sr., who is long deceased. He received his BS in civil engineering in 1899 and is known as the father of civil engineering at NC State. He was a civil engineering faculty member from 1901 to 1948 and served as department head for 32 years. He was chairman of the Alumni Memorial Bell Tower Committee for more than 20 years and led efforts of the Alumni Association to raise funds for construction of the Bell Tower. Mann Hall, located on North Campus from 1963 to 2020, of course, named in his honor. And I'd like to read a statement from his granddaughter, Miss Jane Mann, who is in Lake Lure and could not be with us. I'm very honored to be sharing some very special family stories about my grandfather, Carroll Lamb Mann. He was born in Hyde County, where later in life he bought a farm, which we called Hyde Acres. It was a special place where all the cousins would spend adventurous vacations. He had 10 grandchildren who have many memories of time spent with him and my grandmother. We all called him More Daddy. That name came from my older brother, Carroll Lamb Mann III, as he was delighted to have more daddies. More Daddy had a fun sense of humor and was always teasing the children. If we behaved, we were given some chiclets, which he kept in his pockets. We loved chewing gum. The other memory that we recall is he called us all son, whether we were girls or boys. And he referred to his wife, whose name was Yanita, as Queenie. Another special time that we can probably relate to is that he had the key to the bell tower on his keychain. and on special occasions would take us there to marvel at the inside, which was very beautiful. All through the years, we called it More Daddy's Bell Tower. Another special time was when he allowed us to go down to the basement that was filled with many wooden shelves stored with maps and surveys of the land in Raleigh. He was instrumental in the development of our beautiful city. In closing, he was a very gentle and kind grandfather who loved us all and adored my beautiful grandmother, who we called Nini. A thank you from all of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren for this wonderful honor. We're proud of him and all he has given to NC State and the state of North Carolina. Our next inductee is Dr. Bill Marcuson. Would you please join me? Dr. Marcuson received a BS from the Citadel, an MS from Michigan State, and then a PhD in civil engineering from North Carolina State in 1970. He was the U.S. Army Waterways Experimental Station Director of Geotechnical Lab from 1981 through 2000. He served in leadership positions in a number of professional and technical societies, most notably as National President of the American Society of Civil Engineers. He's received far too many awards for me to read, but I'll mention a few: the Walter Huber Research Prize, the Government Civil Engineer of the Year Award, and the Norman Medal from ASCE, which recognizes a paper which makes an important contribution to either practice or research. He's the only engineer to be named the Corps of Engineers Engineer of the Year Award twice. I was recognized as Civilian of the Year in 1997. He's authored over 100 publications, including state-of-the-art work on in-situ sampling and testing, soil dynamics, seismic design, and analysis of embankment dams. In 1996, he was elected to the National Academy of Engineering. Election to the National Academy is really among the highest professional honors accorded to an engineer. His citation states, for research and development of liquefaction, dynamic soil properties, and seismic wave propagation as applied to design analysis of earth and rock-filled dams. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Marcuson.
Well, first I want to thank everybody who played any role at all in recognizing me today. Secondly, as many of you have said, my family is important to me. Several of them are here today. I'd like to introduce them, and I'll ask them to stand when I call their name. My sister, Marilyn Hall, her son, Brian Hall, my son, Eric Marcuson, and his wife, Lauren Marcuson. As I think about things, it seems to me that a guy by the name of Craig Barrett, he was CEO of Intel at the time, made the statement that if you don't invest in the future, there is no future. And I believe that's certainly true. And I see young people as our future. And I'm 80, and so most of you in the audience I see as young people. And so I'm going to talk to you. But in America, we're fortunate in that I think we can do anything we want to do. We cannot do everything we want to do. And so I would suggest to you that you ask yourself 3 questions. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? And what are you prepared to give up to get it done? With that, let me again thank you very much for this recognition. I am humbled to be a member of this group, and I appreciate it a great deal. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Mr. Lonnie Poole, who will be represented by Nancy Hall, who is the Executive Director of the Lonnie and Carol Poole Foundation. Lonnie Poole earned a BS in Civil Engineering in 1959 while in our ROTC program. After 3 years in the military as an aviator, he earned an MBA from another school up the road with a light blue color. He founded Waste Industries in 1970 and served as president, CEO, and chairman. Waste Industries served North Carolina and the Southeast with waste collection and disposal services. Most recently, Waste Industries was sold to GFL Environmental at a value of $2.9 billion. He's a founding member of the Environmental Research and Education Foundation, the only U.S. organization dedicated to research and public policy as it relates to solid waste. In 2007, he and his wife Carol provided a naming gift for the Lonnie Poole Golf Course and the lead gift for the Carol Johnson Poole Clubhouse on Centennial Campus. In 2010, the Pooles endowed the Poole College of Management at NC State. He served as chairman of the NC State University Foundation Board, the Board of Trustees, and the Dean's Advisory Board of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The Pooles are co-chairs of the university's Think and Do the Extraordinary campaign, and he is a recipient of the NC State Watauga Medal, the highest non-academic honor that the university offers in recognition of significant contributions to the advancement of the university. Please join me in congratulating Lonnie Poole.
On behalf of Lonnie, thank you very much. He's unable to be here this morning, and as I told his 14-year-old grandson the other night, I said, Ruffin, when you are 84, I hope you have the opportunity to say, I can't do that. I have plans with my fraternity brothers. But I do want to share with you some remarks that Lonnie made Wednesday night at a dinner. He was talking about having to write an article for a publication called Waste Age, that if you're in the garbage industry, that's kind of a thing. And he wanted to write about technology, the man who handwrites everything and doesn't actually use technology. So he recalled a history class at NC State in 1956, and the professor was asking the students, what is the greatest invention of all times? And he pointed to the different students, and all the students gave suggestions, and at the end of the questioning, he said, none of you got it right. He said the greatest invention of all time was the horse collar. And Lonnie said, I should have known that. I grew up on a tobacco farm between Garner and Clayton. After learning to ride a bike, also a great invention, I learned to catch and harness a mule. The collar was important, and the mule provided the power to farm. But 3 years later, we bought a Farmall Cub tractor, which I learned to rig and operate. It could outwork a mule 10-to-1. At NC State, I mastered the K&E slide rule, the Monroe calculator, a level, and a transit in Surveying 301. In ROTC as a senior, I got my private pilot's license in a Cessna 172 using an E613 slide rule. But all of these great inventions had become obsolete and just another part of history, like the horse collar.
So what was the greatest invention of all time? I concluded the article, it has not yet been invented. Today, I recognize that technology changes, new inventions emerge at a blistering pace. Whatever you learn to do today will become obsolete. But I also realize that NC State College of Engineering transformed my life, not with the slide rule, but it taught me how to learn, how to study on a higher level. And it was a hard transition from Garner High School. Brutal grading, standards, and frequent quizzes. But it also gave me confidence that if I could think it, I could do it. How to learn is more relevant than what to learn. True in 1959 and still true today. And his comments were, we are winding up a $1.5 billion capital campaign. The campaign slogan is, think and do. That's what NC State taught me 62 years ago. That's the reason I'm up here tonight, to thank the College of Engineering for providing me with a great education. Learning to think and do may just be the greatest invention of all time. On behalf of Lonnie, thank you.
Our next inductee is Mr. David Simpson, who would. After David received a BS in civil engineering in 1981, and after more than 23 years at the NCDOT and 2 private firms, he started Simpson & Associates in 2004. The firm offers services in the transportation industry, including structural design, in-service bridge safety inspections, environmental planning, construction, and observation. David served on the department's advisory board from 2010 to 2018, is a regular contributor to our enhancement fund, the Zeal Lecture Series, and together with his brother Michael, endowed the David B. and Annie P. Simpson Scholarship in honor of his parents. He is involved in several engineering education organizations that promote STEM education, including the North Carolina Future City Competition, Math Counts, and the North Carolina Science, Mathematics, and Technology Education Center. His honors include Special Recognition Award and Small Architectural Engineering Firm of the Year from the NCDOT, and Award of Recognition Advocate Partner from the Women's Transportation Seminar. Please join me in congratulating David Simpson.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is truly an honor to be here today. This recognition goes well beyond me being up here. There are numerous people in my life, from my immediate family, to my church family, to my extended work family at Simpson Engineers and Associates. And let's not forget my Wolfpack family that have played a role in me receiving this honor. I have always liked puzzles. I received great satisfaction completing puzzles as a kid. I have fond memories of completing puzzles with my family. As I have gone through life and lived my dream, I often reflect on my 40-year engineering journey as puzzle pieces that have come together at the right time. If I had to name only 3 pieces of my career puzzle, I would name 1 piece passion, 1 piece relationships, and 1 piece thankfulness. First, you can do anything with excitement if you have passion. For many of us, it takes time to find out what our passions are. Passion is what wakes you up early in the morning and keeps you at the office late at night. The second piece of my career puzzle is relationships. My dad and mom raised my brother and I to treat others like we would like to be treated. You never know when you might need a helping hand, so make sure that you do not burn your relational bridges. Lastly, you always want to be thankful. Be thankful for those who have contributed to your life. Personally, I want to thank my parents for the countless days and years that they helped me with my homework growing up. They believed that this little boy from Reedsville, North Carolina, and trusted that my passion and the potential was limitless. They were confident that my drive and passion would see me through. I am grateful that the NC State College of Engineering invited me to participate in its engineering career workshop after my junior year of high school. They challenged me from day one and provided the foundation of how to think, how to analyze, and how to solve problems. I want to thank the North Carolina Department of Transportation for allowing me the opportunity to enter this career in an industry that I love. I appreciate the NCDOT for their training program, which has benefited me even to this day. I would like to acknowledge Steve Thomas, who serves on the Industry Advisory Board, for recruiting me to the private side. And I want to thank my beautiful wife and my family for their support in this journey. Most importantly, I am grateful for my friend and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, I would not have the strength and faith to believe in my passion, and without him, I would not have the valuable relationships that I have today. Thank you for this honor. This award is another valuable piece of my career puzzle. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Mr. Wayne Stocks. Mr. Stocks received his BS in our department in 1986, then went to earn a master's at the University of Texas at Austin, and after graduation spent 2 years in Nepal in the Peace Corps. He then joined Thornton Tomasetti, a 1,500-person plus engineering consulting firm with more than 50 offices. He's risen through the ranks and is now serving as president. Wayne has overseen the structural design, construction, and project management for a wide variety of new and historic structures. And in addition to numerous iconic projects in the U.S., he's guided his firm to support the construction of pedestrian bridges in Panama and Rwanda through Bridges to Prosperity. He serves on the Board of Governors for the Thornton Tomasetti Foundation and leads its national annual scholarship program. He's passionate about giving back in all respects, often speaking at elementary and middle schools, involved in several professional and nonprofit organizations, including the Metropolitan Washington Structural Engineers Association and Home is Where the Art Is. He is a frequent supporter of the department, including the Zeal Lecture Series, the CCEE Advancement Fund, and the College of Engineering Leadership Fund. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Stocks.
Thank you, Mort. One more thing. So like everyone else here, I'm very pleased and honored to be with you here today, here with my wife, Susan, her mother, Carolyn, and my mom, Carol. 1, 2, 3. So like so many have said today, I had many, many great experiences with civil engineering professors here at NC State. They challenged us, but made it fun, naturally and with what appeared to be little effort. We all know that's not the case. It was their gift to teach and motivate and inspire. My good friend Jim Now, who is still awake, I can see. Dr. Mattson, those are my two structures gurus, along with Dr. Bingham with dynamics. Dr. Johnson, I did take your wood course, did not sleep. And Dr. Rooney Malcolm. We did call him Rooney, but not to his face. And my Rooney Malcolm story is, if you go into the halls of Mann Hall, in the bathroom, you will see no -30. His test that taught you how to think, there'd be a question with about this many words on it, and you would need about 4 of those words to solve the problem. And if you understood what he had taught you, then the problem was very easy. He also gave 3-question tests. You can do the math, we're all smart. That's 30 points, and 40 points. Very little partial credit. So my first test, I got the famous no, -30. It gets your attention. So by the time I applied to graduate schools in the fall of 1985, I had become very passionate and comfortable with structural engineering. It's what I liked, and I wanted more. I considered Jim Now, at that time, my friend, and my friend told me 2 things. One is very obvious. He said, NC State has an excellent graduate engineering program. We all know this is true. The second thing he said is, you should go somewhere else. Like, what? So, you know, it was great advice, as we all know. Jim was pretty wise, even back then. So I moved halfway across the country with 2 of my classmates, and we set out to test our strong foundation in civil engineering, and we started over, just like Jim recommended. We made new friends, we held our own, and then I returned to Raleigh. Everyone I interviewed with in Raleigh as I was looking for a job had graduated from NC State. Their main question was, why didn't you go to NC State? I'm thinking back at Jim's advice and wondering, this could be a problem. Luckily, I came across a structural engineering department head that gave me a chance, and I convinced him I'd not been ruined by leaving the state of North Carolina, and I got a great job. Time flies, and here we are. You know, Jim is living proof of the power of truly loving what you do and the power of being passionate about engineering and teaching and mentoring. Great lessons that you can't unlearn. I've been at Thornton Tomasetti now for almost 30 years. I'm still having a blast. I can't imagine a better profession. We get to create and build structures, companies, careers, by creating opportunities and for others to contribute. It's just a lifelong learning opportunity and growth. Thank you again. I'm really honored to be included with this group and all the prior inductees. And Mort, thanks a lot.
Last, but by no means least, our last inductee for 2021 is Dr. Lawrence Twisdale. Dr. Twisdale received a BS in civil engineering from our department in 1969 and went on to earn a master's and PhD. He earned his master's at NC State and went on to earn a doctorate at the University of Illinois. He began his career as a senior engineer at Carolina Power and Light and went on to found the Southeast Division of Applied Research Associates in 1982. Raleigh is ARA's largest office with more than 300 employees. He was a principal of the firm and executive vice president, serving on the board for 30 years. He retired in fall 2020 and continues to consult today on selected projects. He was principal investigator on more than 200 projects during his career. He developed the Tormis software that analyzes tornado-generated missile risk to nuclear power plant components and structures. His methods for estimation of hurricane-induced damage revolutionized the hurricane loss modeling industry and included the development of hurricane vulnerability, mitigation, and loss models that became part of FEMA's HAZA software suite and IRA's Hear Loss insurance software tool. He led the development of the first ever tornado wind speed risk maps for the National Institute of Standards and Technology. He was an active member of ASCE for more than 40 years, leading their design code development in wind engineering. And he and his wife, Fran, have been strong supporters of the department, establishing the Charitable Remainder Trust in 2003 through the NC State Engineering Foundation. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Twisdale.
Well, I am the last speaker, and that will be some relief, I'm sure. What a great honor, and I want to thank Dr. Barlatz and others who felt me to be included with this distinguished group. It was quite a series of presentations. I really enjoyed listening this morning. I've got a few thoughts, and I've edited them some this morning. I hope to get through this pretty quickly. As a civil engineering student, I had excellent professors at NC State, including Ely, Murtha, Havner, Bramer, Wall, and Zia. Dr. Ely was my undergraduate advisor, and he suggested in 1968 that I take a course in computer science. Of course, we only had 2 electives in 4 years, so that was a big deal, picking an elective. I must say that course really influenced my career and enabled me to tackle a lot of complex problems. And I felt like I was a few years ahead in that area. My years at NC State from 1965 to 1970 were among the happiest of my life. I played on the freshman tennis team, pledged a fraternity, and really enjoyed college life. Many of those friendships have lasted a lifetime. And unlike Lonnie Poole, I am here today. In spite I did well as a student. I got my bachelor's and master's here, and I was able to get scholarship offers from Stanford, Purdue, and Illinois. I went to Illinois, and there a couple of courses really influenced my thinking, and I found my true love within the wide disciplines of civil engineering. These included optimization of structures and probabilistic methods in civil engineering. After my PhD, I was eager to return to warmer latitudes. And of course, Raleigh, I was so thrilled to be able to get a job with Carolina Power and Light in Raleigh in the new group as they were starting to build nuclear power plants, and they were hiring PhDs at that time. My boss was on a nuclear industry research committee. And one of the festering problems was how to design a nuclear power plant to have acceptable low levels of failure risk when struck by a tornado. Following that, I did research and proposed a method to the Electric Power Research Institute and got funded in 1984. CP&L did not know what to do with that. We had a research project, but they allowed me to do it, and I was able to assemble a team of engineers at CP&L to help work on this problem, mostly part-time. We developed a code called Tormis that was one of the first really sequential event Monte Carlo simulation tools, physics-based, and I must also give credit to Bill Dunn, one of my colleagues at CP&L, who was a nuclear engineer and was familiar with Monte Carlo modeling and radiation and particle physics. This resulted, we were able to quantify the risk of tornadoes impacting and damaging nuclear power plants, and this went on to influence the national standards. In 1982, I started the Raleigh office of a company that had just begun in Albuquerque, New Mexico. under Neil Higgins, who mentored me tremendously in my career. Our motto was engineering and science for fun and profit. And we lived the dream doing that. You had to love what you do because of the long hours, and if we didn't make a little profit, we couldn't stay in business. And with my NC State and Illinois education and some cutting edge knowledge at that time, I was able to write proposals and win contracts. We hired a bunch of people here in Raleigh, and I think one of the key things that got the Raleigh office really going was a proposal on probabilistic analysis of hardened structure, survivability and vulnerability of hardened defense-related structures. And from a small beginnings, this work grew to develop a whole new level of software that we have 150 engineers in our office working on today. And I got that original contract in 1992. In the wind area, we made some very good hires, and we obtained NSF small business research grants back in the early 80s and began to do research in hurricane modeling. And over the years, we continued this work, and through publications, the National Loading Standard, ASCE 7, really used our models in the wind risk maps that include hurricane effects along the coastline. And that's taken place since 1998 and into the latest editions, which will come out next year. The tornado work in Tormes also grew, and we analyzed over 40 plants in the U.S. and Canada. It kind of became an accepted national standard. I led a committee that adopted the ANS ASME standard on probabilistic risk assessment of nuclear power plants. And as Mort mentioned, I would have retired a few years ago, but the civil engineering community is finally realizing that we need to design critical facilities like hospitals for tornadoes, particularly in the Midwest. And I stayed on to work on a 5-year project to develop design standards for tornadoes. And that work is recently produced the first ever tornado wind speed risk maps, and these are adapted and have been adapted into ASCE 7 and will appear in next year's edition. In summary, I feel like I've enjoyed a very lucky and wonderful career in which I could pursue both the technical and managerial path within ARA. I now look forward to making new friends and supporting the department and university in any way that I can. I'd like to thank all those that have supported me in my education and career, not the least of which have been my parents, my educators, my ARA colleagues in particular, and my wife, Fran, who never complained all the long working hours. I'm really honored to be in the Hall of Fame, and I want to thank the department and Dr. Barlatz. Thank you. Hold on. I've got on my Wolfpack glasses. Go Wolfpack.
Thank you. Just a few very brief announcements in closing. I urge all of you to think about perhaps nominations for the 2022 Hall of Fame and contact me with suggestions, and I'll be happy to work with you. In closing, I'd like to offer a sincere thanks to Amy Alexander for doing everything. To Lindsay Smith for her help, and to Taylor Wanbaugh for all her help with the communications. She was editing things until about 8:45 this morning, I think. We're also grateful to Brandon and Sullivan with Wolf Bites, our on-campus IT group, for making it possible to engage with people virtually. I suspect if this event were not over, we would still probably be requesting some changes. I very much appreciate their patience and commitment to making this work so well. And finally, just some logistics. I have the trophies up here. I didn't have people carry them back with them. They're a little heavy. We have boxes for them out on the nameplate table where you entered, and box lunches right out the door as well. For those of you that would like to pick up a box lunch, I'm told we have vegan and gluten-free options as well. And there is a public building dedication ceremony at 1 p.m. behind me, if you'd like to stay for that. If you would like to move on but would like to walk through the building, many of the labs are open with people there who can maybe answer some questions and provide some guidance. So you're more than welcome to walk through the building. Again, my sincere thanks for everybody for coming, for being part of this. I'm humbled to be able to introduce such an elite group of our alums, and I'm proud of all of you. Thank you.